Hello, my lovey. You are here with us for another episode of ZFG Living Podcast. Today, we are lucky to be joined by Christina Singhal, who is going to talk to us about one of my favorite topics, resilience. Because as we all know, we're all going to get dragged across the broken glass sooner or later, or now, or whatevs. And so Christina's going to give us the deets on how you can pick up your pieces and move on. Welcome, Christina.
Hey, Mel, thanks for having me into the audience. Thank you for tuning in.
Yes, of course. So, as you and I were discussing, my peeps are all about, how to overcome, how to move forward, how we can just kind of push ourselves forward when things are trying to hold us back. So, would you like to share some of your experiences?
Sure. Okay, so maybe just a little bit of a background. Firstly,
Yeah.
the accent is from South Africa. I was born and brought up in South Africa, still my family there, first one immigrating year, yay. But I met my husband in Greece on a holiday. So he was like a holiday romance. Ended up, we 4 years later got married, everything, which is awesome. But then this idyllic married life of mine was not so idyllic anymore. It was the challenges with the how we raised our kids. There was a cultural difference. My husband is Indian, hence the last name Singhal. So my husband is Indian, and we've got a religious difference.
Hmm.
He's brought up Hindu, I'm brought up Christian, and then I moved from South Africa to the US. So now it's a cultural difference with a different religion, moving to a different country. So
Wow.
it was like it's a whammy. So
And so, he was raised in India?
he was born and brought up in India, raised in India,
Okay.
and came to the US afterwards to come and study here, did his master's here. Yeah,
Okay.
so I ended up settling here also. But then if you have no support, that's how I felt. I'm just giving a little bit of background. So I felt like I have no support. No, my family is not here.
Right.
I needed from scratch. It's like building up. And I think dogs and kids bring people together. When you walk with a dog and people like talk about the puppy, you start getting to know people. But I really started getting to know people when I started, or making friends when I had my little kids, and you started doing the baby groups and those things. But there was a lot of challenges because the way that we raised our kids, so everything started going south to a point that very early, actually, in my marriage, because it's the in-laws bringing things in. There's very lot of cultural differences and expectations, and I left everything in South Africa, trusting my husband, everything coming here, and suddenly things went wrong. But then I was looking up at my husband, relying on him for approval for a lot of things, which is already a very big mistake. It's like you rely on other people for approval. And I think we do that. Obviously, when you get married, you think you're living this dream life, married your dream man and everything, and it's like he's gonna carry you on his hands and everything. And then he just like opened his hands and I felt like I dropped. But so
let me interrupt for a second. So when you say part of the issue there is, I'm assuming, being young, being completely unmoored, you don't have literally that mooring place, that place of connection, your family, your
right,
culture.
right.
And so this is sparkling brand new American culture to you. He's been here for some years.
Yes.
And
Right.
so like he's kind of bridged that gap and gotten
Yes.
over that sort of cultural explosion.
Yes.
And I have to say, that's nothing to understate, because I moved from New Orleans to Northern Virginia, and I could have just as well been on the moon. I mean, it is different. You don't have to move to a whole different country to find that culture shock.
Yeah.
And so, there you are. And were y'all in California then, or is that?
Just where, exactly where I'm still staying. And by the grace of God, I've got the most fabulous neighbors. I love my neighbors. I really love my neighbors. But since I've moved here 23 years, almost 23 years ago, 2000, December of 2000, moved here, still stay in the same house. Still married to the same man, which is a good thing. But it's because, and that's where we're going to talk about the resilience, the lessons learned, and how I overcome all that challenges and things that was thrown at me. And I mean, really, there was really a lot of cultural differences. And then also from a religious standpoint, the expectations my in-laws had with bringing my kids into some of the religious things that they wanted to do that was totally all against from my religious background. So it
So had
was.
you and your spouse, had y'all talked about children and how to raise them and all that kind of thing before?
Okay, so firstly, we really didn't. We were just so in love. Love is blind.
It
Love
is.
is really blind, and you're dumb when you're when you're so in love. I think you don't. We didn't talk about this. We didn't talk about finances. I think for me, it's just I trusted this guy, and it's like my life will fall in place as we get married, as we marry, and everything will just be perfect, and we will have a family. He was in agreement with some of the things, but we never talked about religion. There was a lot of things that we didn't talk beforehand. We didn't talk about religion. We didn't talk if we're going to really have kids, or how many kids we're going to have. So I think the assumption was we're going to have kids, and everything fell into place from that point in time. So there was really, really a lot of struggles, to a point that I got the 3Ds I always feared. Is like I was thinking, living, breathing, envisioning divorce in a place on my own. And then it was money issues that came up, and it's I said the 3Ds is the divorce, depression. I hate depression, like whew, there was no. So I really hit that rock bottom. I remember very, very vividly. There was a Christmas 2018, standing outside, and it's like that point in time that I thought is like, you know what, I cannot do this anymore. My kids is very young, and I felt like used, and it's like just nobody see me anymore. I'm like isolated. I felt isolated, and I felt so lonely. I always joke and say it's like my last name is Singhal, and I felt so freaking single as a married woman. I could have just as well be single and being married. Yeah, so it's not a good space to be in, and I suspect a lot of women get to that space, and mostly the men also, but sometimes in life when there's lack of communication and things, it's like you get to that space. And that rock bottom, Mel, I remember I felt in a corner. I was on my knees, I was praying, and it's like the only thing, sometimes when you're pressed in a corner, there's only two ways. Is either you go up and you look for a aha moment, or just something, some higher being. For me it was God. It's like I need to get out. I prayed to God. It's like, change him, God, change him. I cannot do this anymore.
Oh, now that's fascinating. Good for you for
Well,
creating a new reality. Holy guacamole. You just rocked it. That's so cool. And the broadness of your smile and the serenity of your demeanor just really shows that we create our own reality, and it can be gorgeous.
we do. It's a life by design here for me, and I love that. It's not default.
Oh, that's so cool. Thank you so much for being on the show,
Mel.
Christina.
Thank you to everybody for listening.
And if you want to reach out to Christina, we will have contact information in the show notes.